For now, though, I want to talk to Jim, who's calling in from New Jersey. First, we had Joe. Now we got Jim. Jim from New Jersey, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hello. Yeah, so I'm a Christian, and I pretty much kind of like just let you guys just kind of, ask me anything, because throughout my life, I've seen a lot of things about the Bible that didn't look good, and then I've learned about things, and then I saw it from the other way.
Yeah, well, here's what the call screener wrote, and they said that you wanted to know of us why we think the God of the Bible is bad. Was that something you were interested in talking to us about?
Yeah, that was pretty much what I was going to explain.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Like the reasons why you think.
Yeah, well, one, I think it's important to point out that I don't think the God as described in the Bible, Old Testament or New Testament, exists. I don't currently hold a belief that they exist as an entity, right? So I can describe their characteristics, but that doesn't mean that I think that they exist as a thing, right? Just getting that out there, because some people get confused. They're like, how can you say that something that isn't real is bad? Well, I also don't think like Peter Pan is real, but I can tell you about their character as people have depicted them, right? So that's how I feel about the Bible when it comes to God, right? Like God has been depicted by different authors at different times in history. The Bible encompasses thousands of years worth. I mean, about 1,500 years in the total span of the Bible, right? And encompasses all that work from different people at different times who interpreted God differently. So it's an idea that isn't single, I guess. It's more than one thing, right? So that's kind of the problem when we talk about the characteristics of God, because the God in the book of Genesis, for example, or even in just the Pentateuch, is different from the God of the New Testament, in my opinion. I don't even know if they're talking about the same being. Rather, they're just talking about what they perceive to be the same being, this kind of same idea. So, but if we want to talk about why I think God is bad, pretty simple. He told people to do bad things. I mean, that's it. Like, he was definitely okay with people owning other people. He was definitely okay with Israel invading other nations, and killing people, and having this sort of vengeance. That was his idea of justice. He also definitely has talked about men and women being different. Well, I mean, again, this is authors' interpretations of what God thinks, but like, I think he's been used to uphold an unjust patriarchy in some ways, and sometimes just is blamed on for all kinds of things. Like, Christians say, well, God told me to do X, Y, and Z. So again, like, this idea of God is also bad. But yeah, as far as the character that's described in the Bible, like Yahweh, like, yeah, they've also done a lot of bad things as well. I think killing people indiscriminately is wrong. So global flood is bad. If Jim from New Jersey did a global flood, I would say Jim was a bad person. But you haven't done that. At least I don't think so. But if a God did do that, then yeah, I think that's a bad thing to do. But again, there's a lot of things when talking about the Bible there. So there's my long explanation there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was looking for like one specific reason. Just, I mean, like, I understand you don't believe in God. I'm just like the God of the Bible. Like, what is wrong, or just some specific reasons that we could talk about the depiction of God in the Bible.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think flooding people. I mean, assuming the story is true, right? If God flooded the world and killed everybody on Earth, yeah, that's a bad thing to do. That's my
pretty
example.
genocidal and sadistic.
Yeah.
Like for me, I think of the he had an opportunity to have this book be his form of communication with the people he created, but the first book of the Bible is just completely barbaric. He's mentioning the flood, but there's also the story of Lot and his daughter. So you start off with rape and incest at the beginning, and and then there's slavery. And then as you go throughout the book, it's just a lot of killing, a lot of hate and violence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely hate and violence in the Bible. But that's just a part of reality. I mean, that like, what does God say about maybe we could talk about the
But
flood.
he made the 10 commandments though,
Yeah.
and he had an
Well,
opportunity to make the 10 commandments say something like, "Don't own another human being," but
yeah.
instead, he made it more about like, "Hey, don't worship any other gods above me and obey your parents even though they might
Mhm,
be complete, like, abusive assholes."
mhm,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jim, do you
mhm.
think that flooding the earth, like if somebody did that, you would describe that thing as a bad person, whether they're a human being or something else, like just indiscriminately killing everybody on earth is a bad thing?
Well, the thing is though, it's definitely something that would cause suffering in people's lives.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I believe that God, the God of the Bible and the hypothetical situation of God being just in all of his judgments and even causing suffering in certain people, it's always just because he's the higher power in the Bible. So it's pretty much just like, is God just for causing suffering in the world?
Yeah, and I would
That's
say
really
no.
good.
I don't think it's just. Why
Yeah.
should I believe it's just?
Yeah. Just because hypothetically in the Bible, God is perfect and in all things that he does, he gave life, he gave us everything and whatever he finds suitable to, you know, either scourge or punish or even kill anyone. It's always right.
So
Is it
And,
is
though?
this a might makes right scenario because God is just who he is, therefore everything he does is right?
yeah, biblically, he's he's the Holy One. He's right in everything he does,
Yeah.
you know?
So
I mean,
like
uh,
do you think it's right because God says it's right, or do you think it's right because you think it's right?
well, I believe that God can do whatever he wants just based on me believing that God is holy, but also just biblically, not even taking my belief in God in the equation, just biblically, the Bible says, he is holy and, just to do as he pleases.
Do you
Just
think that that
based on
also
the
maybe kinda
Bible's
sounds like an
definition.
abusive relationship too, though? Like, what if you had a father and a son? Like, your dad, for instance, if what if he was telling you all this stuff, convincing you, "No, I'm your father. Everything I say is right, and everything I'm telling you is just. So, even though I'm maybe beating you or telling you to do something that you shouldn't be doing, it's okay because I said it's right, because I everything I say is right."
Yeah, I definitely believe that, like an earthly father is not like literally God to a child. If the father is literally like a demon possessed, I think God is going to forgive, a child for like running from his father, who's telling him to, worship other gods or something like that.
Why? Wait,
Or,
why do you think that though? Because like God literally killed it. I mean, again, I don't know if you believe the flood is a true story. If you don't, then this is irrelevant. But like God literally just killed everyone, including children on earth, because
mhm,
apparently they weren't holy enough, right? And that
Yeah,
includes
imagine the people floating around, like, it could have been,
yeah,
pregnant women, elderly people,
yeah,
children,
mhm,
all just, like, begging for their lives. That
yeah,
sounds messed
mhm.
up.
I mean, I don't really know who those people were, but,
Does it
um,
matter?
I,
yeah. Why does that matter?
but,
Do you think if they were bad
I mean,
people, then that it's okay that they were killed in the flood?
oh yeah. Everybody's worthy
Mm.
of condemnation, honestly. But I mean,
Everyone's worthy of dying in a
you know,
flood?
everybody deserves death, I believe.
You think I deserve
Why?
why? Like, yeah, why?
Well, I believe that no man is able to stand before the throne of God's judgment without any forgiveness. Therefore, we're
Why?
all worthy of death. Why? Um, I mean, uh, just base level, believing in God's holiness, and believing in his commandments. I believe his commandments are just. I believe God is holy. And, I'm here to talk about any sort of commandments that you find to be foolish, evil.
Well, I
And,
mean, I
because it really comes down. Mhm.
I understand the common Christian conception of God is that he is a perfect being, right, who can do no wrong. And so therefore, his if we're following like divine command theory, which is kind of I think what you're alluding to, then yeah, like God can do what he pleases and it doesn't matter. But I'm just wondering, like, if God is what determines what's right and wrong, how do you know what's right and wrong then? Because like if God, because like when I see an act of killing everybody in the world in a flood, I see that as a bad thing. I don't know how you can justify that other than, well, I'm God, so I get to say so. Like that's not a principle. You know what I mean? That's not really like a rule. It's just a rule of whatever I say goes. So like what why should I have to follow any other kind of principle then if it's just whatever says, right? Like I mean, do you think like morality can exist independently from God? Because otherwise, I mean, how do you even evaluate things if it's just, it's whatever God thinks is right? Because I mean, to me, again, if I heard anybody on earth say, "Yeah, my plan is to flood everybody in the world indiscriminately," I would say that's a bad thing. So, like, am I wrong in saying that's bad because, oh, God did it this time? Like, I don't know.
And also, how does that make him
I mean,
perfect too?
Yeah.
Because 5 chapters in, he's like, "I'm not happy with my creation. I'm gonna get rid of all of them except for Noah's family."
Right.
I mean, it's just a creation. It's not that
Just
important.
Other people?
It's just a created being. Yeah. I mean,
so if,
it's
like,
his
all of us
creation.
died right
What,
now, we
what do
would
we
just
have?
we're just a creation, we're not important? If the flood happened right now,
Uh,
today, it would it wouldn't matter? None of us are important?
well, truthfully, no. I don't believe so, no.
Hmm.
Like, when you think about in the scheme of eternity and just, like, compared to, how good God is, I mean, the only thing that matters is God and what he can give us through love. I
What
mean, it's just
love do you
like
think we
compared.
experience from God?
Well, I believe the love of God is through Jesus and through His Word.
So he killed his son, and that's the way he showed us love? How else does he show us
Yeah,
love?
because He killed His son, and He was also risen from the grave. So, we can have His love through putting our faith on His Son and trusting that He lived for us without sin and rose again for us, so that we could be counted righteous and God could see us righteous just through putting our faith alone on His Son. And we would know the love of God that way through His Spirit, everlasting life.
Do you think it matters? Like if God can just kill us all in a flood, right? What and well, you're talking about love, right? God through the Holy Spirit, right, gives us the ability to love other people. I would argue that again, and I know I'm harping on this, but this is a really big sticking point for me. If I think you would agree, Jim, if I flooded the world, you would agree that that's not a loving act in any way, right? Even if I took your what you were saying and say, well, this is all just in the short term, right? Because we have eternity ahead of us. I think you would still describe me doing that as a bad thing, right?
I mean, you're you and God's God, though. You know,
Yeah, but why does that matter?
like if God caused me to get killed, even I would still love God.
Why?
Why?
Yeah. Why
Maybe He
would you
was
love
angry with
someone that wants to kill you?
because He was angry with me, and he's it's all right. I don't.
Seems a little messed up, to be
That's yeah.
honest.
Uh,
Why I mean, why does he being mad
here's what.
and why does he being angry at you justify your murder?
Because he gave me everything, you know. I mean, let's just think hypothetically here about the flood.
Yeah.
God gave the whole world every breath they've ever had, every movement they've ever had, everything they've ever seen, all the good things, everything, their whole body, every part of their existence, you know, was given by God. That's a lot to love him for. And, you know, he's, you know, if he's spiritually, you know, people can love him spiritually, but also there's so much to thank him for. It's kind of overwhelming, hypothetically speaking.
I mean,
considering the flood, you know, like, say, like, he gave me everything and then he drowns me in a flood, I'd be like, wow, thank you for everything.
I don't know that everyone on Earth at the time, if the story was real, was given everything. But you know, that aside, Jim, like, look, again, if you describe the act of killing people in the way that you're describing to any other being besides God, we would call it psychopathic. We would call it murderous. I mean, it's literally worse than Hitler, right? Like at least with the Holocaust, it was only some people. We're talking about all people on Earth, right? That are dying because God is upset with them and he has a right because he created everyone. I really don't see the logic. I don't see why I created you, therefore I get to kill you whenever I want. I don't see how you can make that through line, you know?
You know, the Bible talks
I
about
think,
Satan saying that he's gonna steal, kill, and destroy.
Yeah.
Yet in this situation, it really seems like it's God that's doing that. The only way that it really makes sense reading the Bible is if God's actually the bad guy, because I don't see any stealing, killing, or destroying done by Satan. It seems like it's
oh,
God.
God's not stealing, because God, it's not even our life, you know. I mean, it's his to take, it's his to give, it's his to take, so it's not really stealing. And he also gives a lot. He doesn't just destroy. You know, he also has, there's a lot of goodness from God, but also he can destroy.
So
And there's nothing
so
he can steal.
is the
What about
flood
natural
act
disasters? That's destroying.
yeah, well, that's interesting because you said there's a lot of good he can do, but he can also destroy. So are you saying that his act of destroying is separate from an act of being good?
Well, it doesn't, him doing destruction does not inherently make him unholy.
I mean, why
Him doing
not?
destruction is a form of, because it's a form of judgment. It's, everything is about him and learning from him. You know, he is the father. So, you know, it's like if a father disciplines his son, why is he, you know, it's because he loves the world and he wants the world to know
Sure. Well,
how do you please God, what is right.
the point of discipline is to show the error of someone's ways so that they can do better, right?
Hmm.
Killing someone isn't discipline. There's no discipline there.
I know.
I mean they can't
Yeah.
exist anymore in the world, you know? So what's the
Yeah, but
point of killing
he
everybody,
does
honestly?
kill.
What is the what's the purpose? Is it just cuz he wants to do it so he can? Is it to show a lesson? I mean, cuz I think
Well,
there's other ways you can
it,
show lessons, you know?
hmm well, it definitely was a symbol. I mean, he definitely used it as, I mean, but can I say 2 points?
Yeah, sure,
Maybe.
go ahead. And we got to wrap up this call soon here, Jim, just as a warning, but
Mhm.
go ahead.
It's that, you know, he does kill sometimes, but he also just punishes, you know, physically on this earth. So a father, you know, he doesn't only just kill, but he does actually punish, just like in regular ways. Like, you know, you're going to get afflicted in your life. You're not going to enjoy, you know, what I'm going to do, you know, and you can
Yeah.
learn from that, you know.
So why didn't he do that with the
Um,
people that were killed? Sorry, I know you had another question, but like if
no, that was
it's
it.
demonstrated that disciplining some people can work sometimes, why didn't he just discipline them instead of killing them?
Well, uh, he just did that. I don't know. He decides to kill people sometimes, and that's his judge. That's, it's not really for their learning, but also for the world learning. So he just decided to kill them that time. And also he used it as a great symbol. The flood, the boat symbolizes Jesus being saved, you know. So he uses these things also as symbols, perfect symbols of the whole gospel even. So that's one reason why he did that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it is obviously symbolic to me, but it's symbolic in the sense of like, yeah, this is a mass murder that happened, and it's basically telling me if we don't listen to this guy, he's gonna do this to you, or he has the potential and right to do this to you. So
Yeah.
I mean, you better listen. I mean, like that when I hear that, that's what that sounds like to me. I don't know what act of love or mercy comes from killing the entire world and saying, I could do this to you too, by the way, but I'm not gonna. I mean, to me, that's not mercy. That's a threat. That's coercion, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's one form of his way to get his points across, but also it's through his people being lights of the world through how loving they are and how obeying the laws of God through the people. Like
Right.
Israel should be a light to the world. So
I wish there was more of
that's the
that.
way he does.
I wish that had happened instead of killing everybody. Again, I don't believe the story is literally true, but seems like
Yeah.
that would be better. I mean, do you not? Do you think so,
Yeah.
Jim? Do you think that would be better?
I think, you know, sometimes he punishes on this earth just a little, like, and keeps people alive, and sometimes he punishes them to death, and it's whatever he does.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jim, that's about all the time I have because we have a bunch of other people that want to talk to us. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. But I appreciate you calling in, and
All right.
thank you for giving us that back and forth there.